You think you found this video. You think you clicked, searched, scrolled, and chose. But the truth? This message has been reflecting you long before you ever saw it. The quantum field doesn't show you what you want. It mirrors who you are right now and who you're becoming. That's why this exact sentence is vibrating in your awareness. It's not coincidence, it's coherence. Every mirror has two sides. One reflects what is, your current self, your doubts, your stuck patterns. The other reveals what's waiting, your next timeline, the self who already knows, already lives, already breathes in that freedom you crave. And right now, those two sides are meeting. That's the crack between realities, where everything changes. Maybe you've been feeling that strange pressure lately, a sense of urgency without a clear reason. You're doing everything right, trying to stay positive, meditate, visualize, but something feels off, like your reflection keeps glitching. You glimpse your potential one moment, then the old heaviness returns. That's not failure, that's feedback. The field is mirroring your internal frequency with perfect accuracy, showing you exactly where your embodiment and your identity are still out of sync. Think of it like this. The mirror can't lie, but it can evolve. The reflection shifts the instant you do. The question is, how do you shift from the version of you looking into the mirror to the one looking out from within it? Because when you cross that line, manifestation stops being a chase and starts being recognition. And what happens when the mirror starts showing not just your wounds, but your becoming? That's where we go next. Let's slow this down. The mirror I'm talking about isn't glass and silver. It's consciousness itself. The quantum field behaves like a multidimensional mirror. It doesn't create your reality from scratch. It reflects the signal you emit through your state of being. Every thought, emotion, breath, and micro-decision sends a frequency into that mirror. It then organizes matter, time, and opportunity to match that signal. That's why two people can walk into the same situation and have completely different outcomes. Each one is seeing their own reflection through the quantum mirror. Most people think they need to force the reflection to change. They try affirmations, endless vision boards, scripting, but what they're really doing is standing in front of the mirror, demanding it show a different face before they shift their expression. But the mirror has no delay. It can only ever reflect what's in front of it. The moment your inner posture changes, the story you hold, the emotion you allow, the identity you embody, the reflection has to follow. That's the law of coherence, not luck. Think of a morning when you woke up already in stress, your body tight, your breath shallow, your thoughts spiraling around something unfinished. All day, small frustrations kept mirroring that same tightness. Traffic, a late reply, an unexpected bill. It wasn't the world turning against you. It was the mirror amplifying what you carried into it. Now imagine another morning. You wake with calm certainty. No perfection, just an anchored sense of being enough. Somehow the world rearranges itself to meet you in that steadiness. That's the mirror too. Here's the paradox. You can't manipulate this mirror by pretending. It only responds to authenticity. You can't fake coherence. The field reads your nervous system, not your words. So the real mechanism of manifestation isn't control. It's congruence. When your thoughts, emotions, and body agree, your reflection becomes luminous. Timelines collapse toward you because you've stopped broadcasting static. Notice how subtle this is. It's not about doing more. It's about being precise in what you hold. The mirror amplifies the cleanest signal. But there's one myth that keeps almost everyone trapped at the surface of this process. A misunderstanding that makes them polish the mirror endlessly instead of transforming what's standing before it. And once you see that myth clearly, you'll understand why your reflection has been repeating the same lessons again and again. Here's the myth almost everyone falls into. They believe the mirror changes when life outside them changes first. They wait for proof, the money to appear, the message to come, the apology to arrive, before they allow the feeling of wholeness. But that's like standing in front of your reflection and saying, "Smile first, then I'll smile back." You know what happens when you do that? The image never moves. The reflection just mirrors your waiting. This is the quiet trap of the manifestor's loop, chasing evidence instead of embodying essence. It's why so many people feel they're doing the work, but staying stuck in the same cycles. The mirror doesn't respond to effort. It responds to frequency. And frequency is the language of embodiment. Let me show you how this plays out in the ordinary moments where your reflection gets tested. Imagine this. You send a message, maybe to someone you care about, someone who matters more than you'd like to admit. Then silence. The screen stays blank. Your mind begins to spin stories, Did I say too much? Not enough? Maybe they've lost interest. That silence isn't punishment. It's reflection. The mirror is showing you your own vibration of waiting, of conditional worthiness. The field pauses until your signal stabilizes. Now, if instead of spiraling, you exhale and return to your own frequency, you place your hand on your heart, breathe slowly, and remind yourself, my presence is already enough. The mirror adjusts. Maybe the text arrives, maybe it doesn't. But your timeline shifts either way, because the reflection is now following your coherence, not your anxiety. That's the secret so few understand. The mirror doesn't reward need. It responds to self-recognition. And notice, this doesn't mean indifference or spiritual bypassing. It's the opposite. It's radical embodiment. You stop outsourcing your signal to circumstance. You stop waiting for validation to grant you permission to feel safe. When you master that, silence becomes communication. Delay becomes alignment. Every no response becomes the mirror teaching you how to become your own signal source. But this brings us to the next layer, the one that decides whether your reflection flickers or stabilizes. Because the mirror isn't just reflecting your thoughts, it's also reflecting the state of your nervous system. And if your body doesn't feel safe, no amount of spiritual insight can sustain coherence. If the mirror is consciousness, then your nervous system is the surface it reflects from. The clarity of that reflection depends entirely on whether your body feels safe enough to stay open. When you feel unsafe, even subtly, your signal fractures. The field can't read a fragmented broadcast. It hears both, I desire expansion, and I'm not safe to have it. The result? Static, mixed reflections. You might glimpse progress one day and regression the next, wondering why your manifestations keep slipping through your fingers. Let's be precise. Your body doesn't care about your affirmations. It listens to your breathing, your muscle tone, your heart rhythm. When those are in harmony, you're coherent. When they're in tension, you're in survival. The mirror responds accordingly. So how do we bring the body back into coherence? It starts with permission. Permission to stop performing alignment and start feeling safety. Here's a micro practice that shifts your reflection within 40 seconds. Pause wherever you are. Let your shoulders drop. Place one hand over your heart, the other over your lower belly. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, letting the belly rise first, then the chest. Hold for a soft second. Exhale through your mouth with a gentle sigh. Repeat this 3 times. As you do, notice your awareness settle behind your eyes. Your heartbeat steadies. The edges of your thoughts blur. That moment, that stillness, is your access point to coherence. You're telling the mirror, I'm safe to reflect clarity. Because coherence isn't an emotion. It's a signal. It's the state where your heart and brain rhythms synchronize, creating a magnetic field that the quantum mirror can organize around. That's when synchronicities speed up. That's when opportunities seem to find you. The field isn't testing you, it's tuning to you. And once you experience that inner calm, you realize something profound. Safety isn't the reward at the end of manifestation. It's the prerequisite. Without it, even your highest intentions bounce off the mirror. With it, your reflection stabilizes into reality. But here's the pivot. Coherence alone isn't enough. Many people can enter calm states, meditate beautifully, breathe perfectly, and still feel stuck. Why? Because they're trying to feel aligned instead of become someone who naturally is. That's the next key, the shift from state to identity. And when you see that distinction, the mirror stops reflecting moods and starts reflecting your true form. Most people stop at the level of state. They chase elevated emotions, gratitude, joy, certainty, believing that if they can stay high vibe long enough, the mirror will finally show the life they want. But states are temporary. They fluctuate with sleep, hormones, weather, and memory. Identity doesn't. Identity is the frequency you live from, not the one you visit. It's the signature that tells the field, this is who's speaking. You can visualize abundance all you want, but if your self-concept is still someone trying to become abundant, the mirror only knows how to reflect the trying. Let's look closer. When you wake up, there's always a subtle identity running beneath your morning thoughts. Maybe it whispers, I'm behind, or I'm rebuilding, or I'm someone who never quite gets there. That identity becomes the source code of your reflection. Your emotional state might say, I'm hopeful today, but your identity quietly transmits, I'm still the one waiting. The field listens to the deeper broadcast. So how do you shift from temporary states to anchored identity? You start by noticing the micro moments where you revert. You get good news, with expansion. You scroll past someone else's success. Contraction. That wobble isn't failure, it's information. It shows where your embodiment is still conditional. The work isn't to stay in joy. It's to become the kind of being whose nervous system naturally rests in coherence, even when the outer reflection flickers. Because here's the truth most miss. The field isn't giving you what you imagine. It's mirroring who you've decided you are. When that decision is embodied, not forced, reality rearranges with frightening precision. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear. Conversations shift tone. People start treating you as the version you've already become, because in the mirror, you are. Notice how identity shapes even your body language. The trying self moves with tension. The embodied self breathes differently, speaks differently, pauses differently. That difference is frequency made visible. But this raises a question that changes everything. If the mirror only ever reflects identity, then what happens when identity itself begins to move across timelines? What if there are already versions of you, reflected in other layers of the field, waiting for coherence to make contact? That's where the real quantum shift begins. Think of each identity as a frequency strand inside the quantum mirror. Every version of you, confident, uncertain, healed, thriving in love, already exists as a reflection vibrating at its own level of coherence. The field doesn't decide which one you live in. You do, by resonance. When you shift identity, you don't attract a new timeline. You tune into the one that's already reflecting your new signal. The quantum mirror doesn't move toward you. You move toward the version of you who already stands inside that reflection. Let's ground this in a moment you might recognize. Imagine you're at a job interview. You've prepared, you know your worth intellectually, but as you sit across from the interviewer, you feel a subtle wobble, the micro-tightness in your chest, the thought, what if they see through me? That's your current reflection confirming the identity of someone being evaluated. But if, in that moment, you quietly remember, wait, I'm not here to be chosen. I'm here as someone whose presence carries value, your nervous system softens, you stop performing, you begin reflecting coherence. The interviewer feels it. The mirror shifts in real time. This isn't imagination, it's frequency recognition. You're no longer the person trying to access your timeline, you've become the one already living it. The mechanism is simple. Every identity radiates a signature. The field sorts reality by resonance. You can't fake it. You must inhabit it. That's why timelines collapse the instant your embodiment matches your chosen identity, not before. Here's the subtle key. The reflection doesn't wait for full belief, only full permission. The moment you stop arguing with your future self, your mirror reorganizes to match them. Timelines are not linear progressions. They're overlapping mirrors, each one holding a complete version of you. When your state, nervous system, and choice align, the reflection you call future becomes your now. You felt this before. Moments where you acted differently, spoke with an ease you didn't know you had, and suddenly, everything unfolded smoothly. That wasn't luck. That was you slipping into another timeline where that version was already established. But there's still a missing piece. How to stabilize that frequency so you don't keep bouncing between old and new reflections. Because crossing timelines is one thing, living there is another. And that's what we map next. A toolkit to anchor your new identity into the mirror until it becomes unshakable. If the mirror is always reflecting you, then the only sustainable transformation is internal stability. You don't force the reflection to stay clear. You become the stillness it reflects from. To live that, you need a protocol, not rituals of control, but anchors of coherence. I use 3. Try them. Feel which one your mirror recognizes first. 1. The morning merge. Before touching your phone, sit upright. Place your palms over your heart as if greeting your reflection. Whisper, "Show me who I already am." Don't visualize, don't affirm, just listen. The silence that follows isn't emptiness, it's calibration. The field begins tuning to the identity that speaks from inside those words. 2. The mirror breath. Throughout the day, notice every time life reflects you. A delay, a compliment, a challenge. Pause. Inhale slowly, thinking, "This too is me." Exhale, thinking, "And I can shift now." This turns ordinary moments into micro-portals. Instead of reacting, you re-signal the mirror with calm precision. 3. The timeline. Walk evening. Step outside, barefoot if you can. With each step, imagine you're walking into your reflection, not toward a future, but into a living frequency that's already here. Feel your shoulders widen, your breath deepen. The point isn't fantasy, It's nervous system proof. When the body senses safety in that reality, the field reads it as true. Do these daily for 1 week. Watch how your interactions subtly change. Someone speaks to you with more warmth. Money flows with less resistance. Your mirror starts confirming your coherence. The moment you realize you no longer need to manifest, but simply remember who's broadcasting, you've crossed the threshold from seeking to being. And let's make this collective, because mirrors multiply. When thousands of us hold the same clear reflection, the field strengthens for everyone inside it. Comment ritual right below. I am already living my reflection. Let the quantum field register your declaration, not as hope, but as signal. Because every written word becomes a mirror node, every declaration a frequency anchor. Still, the deeper you go, the more you'll meet your old patterns, the shadows that blur the reflection just when it starts to shine. These aren't setbacks. They're tests of congruence. The field wants to know if you'll keep holding the signal when the image distorts. So next, we step into the heart of sabotage, the 3 invisible forces that pull your reflection back into static, and how to dissolve them before they distort your identity again. Every mirror has smudges, not because it's broken, but because we touch it with unexamined hands. Old fears, protective habits, emotional residue. These are the invisible fingerprints that blur the reflection right when it starts to clear. There are 3 main distortions that sabotage coherence. Recognize them, and the mirror obeys again. The first is urgency. It feels innocent. I need this to happen soon. But urgency tells the field, I don't yet trust that it's done. The moment you radiate rush, your reflection scatters. You start attracting more waiting, more almosts, more proofs to chase. The antidote isn't apathy, it's pace. The future self you're aligning with doesn't rush. When you slow your breath, you tell the mirror, I've already arrived. The second is split signals. You say you want love, but you brace every time someone gets close. You visualize abundance, but your body tenses when paying a bill. These micro-contradictions confuse the mirror. It can't decide which reflection to display, so it flickers between them. The practice here is radical honesty. Each time you notice resistance, say quietly, this too is me. That simple sentence dissolves static faster than any affirmation because it reclaims the denied signal and restores coherence. The third is over-control. Trying to manage outcomes keeps you stuck in observation mode, always watching for the reflection to change instead of being inside it. Control is the ego's way of gripping the mirror frame, but the mirror only clears when your hands fall away. Surrender isn't passive. It's a precision move that tells the field, I trust the reflection to match me without supervision. Let's make this tangible. Imagine you're facing money pressure, a bill due tomorrow, your chest tight with worry. The temptation is to panic, to affirm louder, to fix the energy. But what if you paused? You breathed slowly. You whispered, the mirror is showing me my current signal of fear. Instantly, you stop fighting the reflection and start transforming the emitter. You become the calm in the center of the storm. And from that stillness, solutions appear that logic couldn't predict. Each of these sabotages has one goal, to pull you back into identification with the old reflection. When you recognize them, you reclaim authorship. But to truly live this, it can't remain theory. It has to become movement, habit, texture, woven through your everyday life until coherence becomes your resting state. That's where we go next. The art of daily integration, where the mirror stops being a practice and starts being your natural way of being. Coherence isn't built in ceremonies. It's confirmed in the ordinary. The mirror watches what you do when no one's watching. It studies your tone when you speak to strangers, the way you breathe when plans change, the thoughts that surface in silence. Every micro-choice becomes a calibration. When you wake up, don't rush to check the outside world. Look at your reflection, literal or inner, and ask, what signal am I broadcasting before the day begins? That's your real start. While eating, slow down enough to feel the nourishment moving through you. That single act says to the field, I'm safe to receive. The mirror translates that frequency into more receiving, opportunities, affection, ease. As you walk through your day, notice what catches your attention. That's the mirror speaking in symbols. The same numbers, the song lyrics, the repeated phrase from a friend, these are not coincidences. They're reflective ripples confirming that your broadcast is reaching the field. When you catch yourself comparing, pause, feel your feet, whisper, their reflection is proof the mirror works. Just that phrase transforms envy into evidence. And in conversations, even the mundane ones, practice speaking as the version of you who already knows they're reflected clearly, not performatively but calmly, with the quiet authority of coherence. You'll notice how people mirror your tone back. Suddenly the world feels safer, softer, more aligned, because you are the anchor point now. Integration doesn't mean constant awareness. It means trusting that awareness will find you when needed. The mirror isn't demanding, it's responsive. The more naturally you live your signal, the less you'll need to correct it. But here's where the next cliff opens. Because once daily life starts reflecting coherence, the field begins testing for expansion. It asks, can this reflection hold greater power, greater intimacy, greater purpose without distortion? And that's when you start noticing new domains of reflection, relationships shifting tone, creative bursts that seem downloaded, even the body healing faster than before. These are not random gifts. They're mirrors of expansion, inviting you to stretch beyond the identity you've stabilized. So as the field amplifies your reflection, the question becomes, how far can you let it expand before your old identity tries to contract again? That's the next layer, expansion domains, where the mirror stops being about you and starts becoming the way reality itself evolves through you. Once your reflection stabilizes, the field begins to magnify it, not as reward, but as confirmation. Your coherence is strong enough to hold more light. You'll notice it first in the edges of your world, in relationships, creativity, health, and purpose. Each domain becomes a larger mirror, testing how wide your signal can stretch without distortion. Let's start with relationships. When your internal mirror clears, you stop attracting people who reflect your wounds and start meeting those who reflect your wholeness. Conversations deepen. You're no longer trying to be seen. You are seen because you're not hiding. But here's the twist. Old connections might fade, not because of conflict, but because the reflection changed frequency. It's not rejection, it's reorganization. The field only ever pairs coherent mirrors. Creativity follows next. Ideas arrive in pulses, like memories from timelines where you've already created them. You'll notice yourself writing, designing, or speaking with a fluidity that feels guided. That's the mirror showing you what it's like to co-create instead of control. You're no longer thinking ideas. You're remembering them from your higher reflection. Health shifts too. The body begins mirroring the safety you've cultivated. Healing accelerates, not through magic, but through regulation. Cells reflect the calm signal of a nervous system no longer at war with itself. The mirror reads that congruence and reorders the body's patterns. You might sleep deeper, crave cleaner foods, or simply feel time moving slower, as if your biology has synchronized with the field. And then comes purpose, the most expansive mirror of all. The moment you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What reflection wants to move through me?" The field answers with opportunities that seem to appear from nowhere. It's not fate, it's feedback. You've become a clear surface for the collective mirror to project through. Let's make this concrete. Picture yourself sitting with your creative work, a painting, a business idea, a message to share. For days, nothing flows. Then suddenly, it does. Hours disappear. When you look up, it's as if someone else was guiding your hand. That's your future self, already reflected in a timeline where that creation exists, merging through your coherence. Expansion isn't about reaching higher, it's about holding wider, allowing more life to reflect without losing center. But the more light the mirror carries, the deeper the paradox becomes. The reflection starts to feel less like mine and more like something moving through me. That's where we enter the spiritual dimension. The moment the mirror itself begins to dissolve. There comes a point when the mirror stops showing you just outcomes, identities, or timelines. It starts showing you itself. The illusion of separation thins. You realize the field isn't outside reflecting you. It's you, observing yourself from every possible angle. This is where surrender stops being a concept and becomes a current. Because once you see that you and the mirror are the same awareness folding in on itself, control becomes unnecessary. You no longer need to force alignment. You are alignment, moving through form. At first, this can feel disorienting. The old sense of me manifesting reality dissolves. You start catching yourself mid-practice, breathing, visualizing, affirming, and feeling a quiet inner smile that whispers, "There's no distance to close. I'm already there." That's the moment of remembering. The mirror isn't responding to you. It's becoming you in real time. And with that, even challenges take on new texture. When life seems to glitch, When something disappears or delays, you no longer interpret it as rejection. You see it as the field reconfiguring itself for a cleaner reflection. Every detour is precision. Every pause is calibration. This is also where divine orchestration becomes visible. Synchronicities multiply, not to impress you, but to remind you. The intelligence behind the mirror is love. It has always been guiding you toward coherence, using reflections as language. The paradox reveals itself fully here. Surrender is not weakness. It's the highest form of authorship. When you stop pushing against the reflection, your signal becomes identical to the field's rhythm. That's what mystics call flow, artists call muse, and scientists call resonance. And from that state, you begin to sense that you were never manifesting. You were remembering the configurations of self that already existed, reclaiming them from the infinite mirror through feeling, not effort. When you live from this awareness, even the smallest act, pouring water, tying your shoes, speaking someone's name, becomes sacred. Every gesture is a ripple in the mirror, expanding coherence through everything it touches. You become a living frequency, a moving reflection teaching others how to see themselves. And that's when destiny no longer feels like something you chase. It feels like something you're translating from a deeper field of intelligence that always had you in its plan. But there's one last truth to anchor: the closing of the circle, where the mirror's light returns to its source and you realize why you found this video at all. That's the final transmission. Now you can see it clearly. The mirror was never random, and neither was your arrival here. You didn't stumble upon this message. It found its reflection in you the moment you were ready to remember. Because the quantum mirror doesn't send invitations, it sends signals, and your coherence answered. Everything you've lived, the pauses, the longing, the strange sense that something larger was whispering your name, was the mirror aligning its angles, waiting for this recognition. You were never manifesting a new reality. You were walking toward the reflection that had been waiting since before you began. Look around you now. Every detail is part of your reflection. The light where you sit, the air against your skin, even the rhythm of your heartbeat. The field is not distant. It's inside every pulse, repeating your identity back to you. I am already whole. I am already here. And that realization, quiet, simple, undeniable, collapses every timeline of struggle. The moment you see the mirror clearly, you no longer try to fix it. You live from inside it as the reflection made real. So let this be your final calibration tonight. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly once. Whisper, I am the mirror and the reflection. Feel how that lands in your body. The field feels it too. Because this isn't the end. It's the feedback loop beginning again, at a higher octave of coherence. From here, your reflection will keep evolving, not by force, but by resonance. Every person you meet will sense it, and something in them will start to clear too. If you haven't written yet, make it your final signal to the field. Write in the comments, I am already living my reflection. Let that phrase echo through this shared field of mirrors, thousands of us broadcasting the same calm truth. And remember, you didn't find this video. The mirror found you, because it knew exactly when you'd be ready to see yourself.